Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Tawia Patrick Matope, and on this channel, I do deliver content related to social work and anything to do with social work, basically. It's been a while since I delivered a topic, and there's been a lot of things going on, few changes happening as well. So that's where I've been caught up with, or that's what I've been caught up with. But yeah, welcome back, and hope you've managed to watch some of the old videos on the channel to inspire you and to also support you in your social work journey, basically. In today's topic, I just want to give a few tips which will help you to succeed in your first 90 days at a workplace, really. Whether you are a social work practitioner at a workplace, or a senior practitioner at a workplace, or a practice supervisor, or an assistant team manager, or you are a team manager or a head of service, these will be applicable to any one of you, and these will enable you to actually be successful in your first 90 to 100 days at any workplace, basically. Right, I just want to put a disclaimer before I proceed to say I don't consider myself to be a guru in social work, but I use nuggets from my own practice and from my own experiences and from my own self-directed learning as well. And without wasting much time, let's jump straight into the first tip I'm just going to give today. The first is, when you get to a place, it's important for you to be a listener and just be a listener, and don't get straight into solving problems, but listen to the people who have been with the agency for a while, or who have been with that particular local authority for a while. That will enable you to be able to obviously pinpoint where the major issues are, and also pinpoint the stressors in the organization, and then that will actually help you to plan as to what needs to be done for you to circumvent those kind of challenges, basically. So the most important thing is to make sure that you start by listening and not solving. It's not for you to go straight into that place and solve issues. Obviously, there are some assignments which will require you to go in straight away and start solving problems. But sometimes it's good for you to start by listening. And if you make this a priority, you need to be able to you shouldn't be arriving in a workplace already thinking you have got the solutions, because you haven't even got the grasp of what the issues are in that particular organization. So it's critical for you to use the first days to get insight, to gain more insight into how the local authority works, or how that particular organization actually operate. What is their strategy? What is their culture? What are the operating models that they use? And get to know all those kind of things as well. Tip number 2 is to learn the unwritten rules. Learn the unwritten rules. What do I mean by that? Each and every organization has got its own culture. You need to be able to be cognizant of what makes that organization tick, who matters within that organization, who you need to be building alliances with, and to be able to know exactly where the major decision players, who are they in that particular organization. So understanding the culture fluence of an organization gives you the power to have more impact more quickly than a situation where you just go in and start to think that you know everything and you know what needs to be done. So you need to learn the unwritten rules, learn how the people operate, what's the culture of that particular organization, observe how decisions are being made, or how decisions actually get made, and how people get by on a day-to-day basis, and also watch who influences those decisions behind the scenes. And then tip number 3, you need to be able to build strategic relationships. Strategic relationships, it could be within the organization, but also outside the organization with other agencies like the police, health, women's aid, all those other organizations that you do work with, including MARAC partners, or colleagues from the FGC team, CP chairs and stuff like that. You need to be able to build those partnerships, and you have good working relationships with each and every individual in those particular partner organizations, especially those that you'll be operating with, or you'll be interacting with on a daily basis. So it's really, really important for you to do that. The way you can simply do this is to is actually to map out the key stakeholders. From day one, you can ask any of the colleagues who is possibly in the same line with you. If you're a manager, another team manager in that particular team will be able to give you a rundown or a list of the key players or the key stakeholders in that particular organization, and you'll be able to actually start to build some strategic relationships, even if it means you need to go to them, introduce yourself to them, and start to be clear, be intentional in what you are doing, so that they are clear exactly what is it that you stand for. And when they escalate things to you, solve those issues straight away, and show some action in that's how you build those strategic relationships as well. These relationships, in my experience, in my 20 years experience of working in social care, or 21 years of experience working social care, is that it helps you to actually it's the same relationships that will actually decide your influence in that particular organization, one, and also decide this level of support that you'll get as you go forward. Right, that's very important, really. So you need to be making sure that you invest time in knowing your peers, invest time in knowing other key players within the organization that you're working with, and other key players that you interact with, especially the multi-agents professionals, like I mentioned already, the police, the health, education, and all those other agents that you do work with, including probation and all that. So that's really, really important. And then moving on to the fourth tip I'm going to give today is around aiming for those quick wins. Obviously, there will be issues when you join an organization. There are those issues which would want a quick turnaround in terms of decisions that need to be made. So you need to be managing those quick wins quickly, so that you'll be able to build your capacity to be able to deal with much of the broader issues which are actually emerging at that particular time. So you need to be solving one painful point, moving on to the next, and be visible, be valued around, as you start to work, in that organization. Early wins will actually help you build confidence in the role that you're working, and also helps you to build credibility within the agency, and in the eyes of those who hired you. You need to be building credibility. So it's really important for you to be able to ensure that you hit the ground running on those quick wins, exactly. And those that will need a strategic mind, and those that will need a strategic thinking, you need to take a step back, gather as much as you can concerning those issues, so that when you start to do your problem solving, you are already on top of everything, and you solve it once and for all. You don't want to come in and solve something, and then 2 months down the line, another issue exactly like that one is actually cropping up, because you haven't taken your mind to apply your mind to those issues and be able to solve that issue holistically. Right, moving on to tip number 5. You need to be writing down your goals, and have your vision board where you'll be able to actually map out what are my goals within the first 100 days or within the first 90 days of me being in this role, and you'll be able to tick them, all of them, like that. So that's tip number 5. And clear goals will ensure that you and your leader, you actually share the same expectations, and there's nothing with you sharing those clear goals with your leader, possibly in your first one-to-one supervision that you may have, and be clear on what you think you need to be achieving. Because sometimes if your onboarding has been done well, you would have had a good handover from the previous manager, and you'll be able to know exactly what needs to be done, the things that you need to hit the ground running, and so forth. And then point number 6 is to build intentional first impressions. What do I mean by that? Reputation gets set early on, and it sticks longer than you think, especially when it's done early on. You need to be creating an intentional image at the beginning of your assignment, and be consistent in how we show up and act. Be consistent in how you show up and act. And also you need to be demonstrating humility and hunger for success and reliability. Those are not 3 easy things to be in the same sentence. I'm talking about humility, hunger, and reliability. Those are not three easy things to be in a sentence, but that's what you need to be when I talk about building intentional first impressions. And then I'm moving on to point number 7, is to ask the obvious questions. What are the obvious questions? Okay, you don't want to assume anything that you have been told in your handover is exactly as it is. If you've got some lingering questions, you need to be asking those obvious questions. It could be to your supervisor, or it could be to your subordinates, or it could be to your other line managers who are also working with you, or other practitioners who are working with you. Ask those obvious questions and get to know exactly what are those issues which are bubbling around, and how best you can contribute to making sure that those issues are actually curtailed, or those issues are actually solved. And you don't want to assume everything. or if you come to a place, you observe what you observe and assume and make assumptions from what you've observed already. Ask the obvious questions to confirm what you've observed and also to confirm what you've been told. And sometimes what you may have been told may not necessarily be what's on the ground, or sometimes what you have observed may not necessarily be exactly as it would be confirmed later on. So it's important for you to be doing that. One thing to mention about asking the obvious questions is that asking questions shows some level of curiosity, and it's also obvious to make sure that your questions don't ignored, because by asking those obvious questions, you actually show that you are taking an interest in the organization. And it takes a lot for somebody to be asking those obvious questions and getting to know exactly what are the nitty-gritties on the ground and what needs to be solved, what are the current challenges. And don't fake it to indicate that you know things. If you don't know things, ask. That's why I'm talking about asking the obvious questions. And then moving on to the tackling the strategic challenges. Remember, in the first tip I spoke about, start by listening. On this point number 8, you now need to start to diagnose those strategic challenges and actually map out how best you can solve those challenges. You actually need to think about, okay, fine, I've got inherited this team which is having challenges in terms of progressing assessments, for example. What is holding the team back? You need to start to think about, is it about the case allocations? Is it about the intensity of the cases or the complexity of the case that they're picking up? Is it about, the time scales? Is it, you need to start to think about that already. However, you don't lose sight of the fact that, if there are a few individuals or the majority of the team is already achieving what is being achieved, you now need to start to think about the few individuals who are not achieving the same goals, what exactly is holding them up, and then you'll be able to find ways of how you can support each other and move forward. Really, you need to be eyeing the big things which seem to be a blockage to where you would want to be with the team. That will actually help you as well in terms of solving those strategic issues and solving those big problems. If it's issues that needs your strategic lead to do something about it, or your head of service to do something about it, or your assistant director to do something about it, you need to bring those things to their attention in the right platforms and within the right forums as well, and making sure that you don't rock the boat when you are doing that as well. And I think the other critical thing when I talk about diagnosing strategic challenges is to ask, if nothing changes, what will really happen? If things don't change in terms of the colleagues managing the time scales and so forth, what could be the worst that can happen? You need to think about that. If it means you need to be progressing towards a management plan with specific individuals, you need to start to put those things in place, put that train in motion so that things start to move really. And you want to build a clear picture of the biggest challenges and give a clear picture, clear vision, clear direction to the team, so that you move forward as a team rather than seeing individuals progress and others not progress. It's about building the team and moving forward as a team, basically. The last one is to make sure that you share your early insights early on, because remember I spoke about start by listening, but by listening you are already starting to develop your own insights of what you think needs to be happening. So you need to be sharing these insights early on and share some of the experience that you have had over the years that you think might actually propel the organization going forward really. This could be something that you can think about within the first 30 days. Start to share about your insights of what you have observed, what you think will make the organization tick, or what you think will propel the organization forward and stuff like that. So those are some of the things that you need to start already doing, because you've already observed, but you now need to come to a point where you are offering your observations and actually starting to think about how we can take things forward. By doing so, it actually positions you to be a thoughtful, engaging, and to be of strategic value to the organization that you are working, that which you are working for really. So with those 9 tips, I hope somebody has grasped something. And if you have got any other few tips that you want to share, please put your comments in the comment section down below, and we'll be able to start a conversation and be able to go forward really. I really appreciate you taking time to watch this video up until the end, and if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, hit that notification bell so that when I post, you'll be the first person to know. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye bye.